Okay, this is Dr. Kelsey Paranormal. I'm here at Neighbors Cemetery, Osley McLean Neighbors Cemetery, established October 15, 1868, with burial of Elizabeth Betsy Neighbors. Her loving husband John followed her in death only 15 days later. They are buried side by side. Many local pioneer families chose to share this hallowed ground with their departed loved ones. Neighbors Cemetery. And as usual, what I'm working on here is live 360 streams for your pleasure. So I'm going to start back in the back. We've got Catherine over there who is doing some using some fascinating tools to see if she can communicate with, maybe you can communicate with the neighbors. Not talking about our next door neighbors, but be careful, because these neighbors might become your neighbors if you're not careful, if you bring on a neighbor home. So here's some older ones. I'm going to cross over the hill in a moment, but whew, it is a hot day. This little tombstone here has been destroyed somewhat, but here's an older section. And as I walk around, keep in mind, you have the ability to look all around me here. It's 360. You can move your phone around if you're watching it on your phone or your tablet and see all around, or you can take your finger on your computer screen and do the same fascinating thing. Very old cemetery here in Shelby County, around Saginaw, which is basically between Calera and Alabaster. Fascinating old tombstones here. And just walking around on this hot summer day, daytime, doing a little tour. Boy, look at these. Are very fascinating tombstones. Now this is very recent. Polly D, buried 2016, just about a year and a half ago. And John is still alive. They were 3 years apart in age. And there is the picture of that couple, which a lot of people do that. This one, and you see some pretty interesting inscriptions on these tombstones. Get to see a lot of history. I'm going to kind of weave in and out of these so you can see. And again, you don't have to, you can look all around me. If you see something interesting, something that I missed, or you think I missed, don't be afraid to talk about it. Let me get myself adjusted here. The Osleys, 1884 to 1917. Asleep in Jesus. At Rest, another Osley, 1885, it looks like. And boy, look at this structure here. This was 1911, 1847. Lived through the Civil War. Interesting. And look at this stone here. That is some structure here. And the inscription is another Osley. Born in 1862, died in 1906. 44 years of age, approximately. And 1860 to 1902. Pretty young people, 42 years of age. 1881 to 19, I'm going to say 05. Or close to it anyway. So there's a mixture of more recent and of older ones here. They're still, of course, using this cemetery. And here we come with the neighbors. Now this, I'm going to come down the other side in a minute. But this is a tombstone of the neighbors. This was started by Mr. Neighbors. Okay, this is, must be the original, October 31st. Yeah, this is the first couple buried in this cemetery. And this was a newer tombstone that was erected by the descendants John Nabors. His wife Elizabeth died in October 15, 1868. She was born in 1807. Wow. Died 1868, and he died just 15 days later. They were interred here many years ago, and died very close to each other. She died, and that was it. This looks like a bunch of little children's graves. The stones are so worn, I can't really read them. This is a very neat kept cemetery. Some newer graves as well as some older graves. And the history is what I found fascinating, to say the least. So 360 live stream, and a little cemetery here. Well, this phone's getting hot, so I hope I don't lose my stream. When I stream with this, it really gets warm. But there's a big cross, and this is 2014, 4 years ago, 22nd, almost 4 years to the date. This person was interred here. They died May 22nd, 2014. They were born 3 years before I was born. All right, let's walk over the hill here. Kind of in the shade. Maybe I can keep this phone from heating up too much. Garrett's. (1954). This person, Frank Garrett, was died the year I was born. They September. 2 months prior to my birth, they left life. But the interesting thing when you get into cemeteries, looking at these tombstones, is dealing with the very much reality that all these people walked on this planet just like you and I today, and the end result puts us square in the same place they are, maybe not in a grave, but in this death state. This is our future, and it's a reality. It's a circle of life. I've often said that the number one cause of death is birth. This is 1936, 4-year-old born here by the name of Fawcett. And here's some more outlives. There's something that's broken up there, the Ross grave. Come back over here. This is interesting. Warmington. And somebody used just some cinder blocks as part of their gravestone. That is interesting. And come over here and look at the crosses, or I don't know if these people were in ironworks or not. 1960, 1952, 1960, date of death. Rebar welded together to make crosses. I don't know if they were worked in the steel industry or in construction in some way, but that's how they chose to make the crosses on their graves. All these graves are, well, here's one 2016 by the name of Killingsworth is the name. This one, you see the squirrels? Can you see that? Warmington, someone by the name of Day. I'm at the far end, as you can see, of the cemetery now. It's well kept, older cemetery. Some interesting names here, not common names. There's still room for graves. I'm sure that they've got plots sold out here. 2 hearts there, the Trammels and the Washingtons both have hearts on their tombs. 1999. George, according to this, still alive. There's a candle and a cross in there, and of course the rings, husband and wife. Here's one that's so recent. There is, I say it's so recent, no tombstone, but they got one of these solar operated panels here. No marking as to who buried here, but this is not weathered in any way, so it's seemingly not a real old grave. This one too is no markings, a little bit older. Somebody actually planted a rose bush here at this grave. So I'm on the back side of this hill, and there's a few, but not a lot. The name Brand, Helen and Billy Brand. She died February 2010, and he died October 2011. They died again very close to each other, which is not unusual for couples that's been together for a long time. So let's walk up the other side. This is Nabors Cemetery. It's kind of hidden here around the Clara, Saginaw area. Very well kept, very neat cemetery. Todd here, 2010, and Travis Pearl. And this is unusual to see. I've run across this several times here. To see the wife dying before the husband. Usually the wife outlives the husband. Usually the women have more longevity in their lives. So, but that's a little bit different what I'm seeing here on these graves. Little angels there, and some flowers. A day, I think I've seen another day or two of Franklin Underwood. And this looks like a recent grave, but no markings. No markings. Charity Lee died very young. Ballard, 76 to 95, 29 years old. Is that right? 76. Yeah. Wow. Pretty young. Pretty young. Then we're going to come up here. The name of Nash. I'm going to call it Nash Ruby Albert. 1991 and 1976. And we've got these interesting Christmas type decorations here. And they don't look like they've been here. They're not totally dilapidated, but they've been clearly it's been a few months since Christmas, so I don't know when they were put up, but fascinating. Fascinating what people do with their graves. And we come over here, we got two little Christmas trees. I wonder if that at one time sat over there on those graves. Who knows? Then we got some of these slabs here. And these go back to 52, 56. These are on the 50, 52, 56, and 59. They died around the time of my birth. 46. 43. Billy Joe and Brenda Joyce. 2007. And Brenda Joyce must be still alive. Yeah. Mary Dover, 1987. Havis Dober. Alright, we come back up here in the bright sunshine in a minute. This is interesting. Jones, the way that tombstone is laid out there. Ruby Brymer and Jesse Edis. Born Jones, said in 1897 and 1956, and 1881 to 1958. Fascinating, totally interesting. Now I've got something, a little corner set up here. Get some more. It's interesting, most of the older tombstones are up front. And I hope I'm still streaming here. But here looks like a little meditation corner. A little bench, statue, and a vase. (1994, 1961). Vanderslice. I've heard that name before. It's not a very common name, but I have heard it before. But up in this area is where we get the really bigger, fascinating tombstones. Kind of